Okay, and we're here for episode 2 of Some Stupid Assholes Talk About Some Stupid Shit. Uh, this week's episode, the highest quality content is going to be the image on
Is
screen,
it?
which
I still haven't seen my image.
I would like to thank Finnish friend for. I'm gonna send the image to you now because I wanted to see your reaction.
Oh God, it's gonna be.
This is the image that we're gonna use.
I like it.
I had the idea, he made the drawings because I can't draw for shit. So thank you, Finnish friend. Let's get the fuck into this shit. So once again, we're responding. We're going to start by responding to last week's questions. Last week's, if last week was 8 years ago, um, which are really shit this time. So let's get right to it. The
Hey. All right, what do we got?
first question was: do you prefer the main character to be in line and balanced with the rest of the party, or be overpowered?
Okay.
And I don't assume much is going to have changed.
Yeah. Was it? All
Uh,
right.
last time, I mean, the conclusion that we came to was a little bit better, but not so much better that they overshadow everyone else.
Sounds about right.
And I mean, yeah, I don't think anything has changed there. The important,
No, not really. I mean, no. I don't mind if they're overpowered in like a narrative sense, but as far as actual combat goes, I kind of do like them to be a bit more even.
yeah, and I kind of want to. Uh, I'll save it for later, but to me, the thing I have a larger problem with is when the main character doesn't have justification for being the main character from a narrative sense.
Okay.
It surprisingly rare is the game where the main character actually feels like the glue that holds the party together, rather
Instead of
than
just
the character
the.
that we're being told by virtue of being the one that we control is the most important person here.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
And but that's not really a combat reason.
It's not, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
And I mean, there's not much discussion about that other than to like get into characters that we think did it well. But I think that could be like a topic unto
That could be
itself.
it's a
And
whole.
yeah, since we haven't had a lot of time to prepare it, I don't want to start it tonight.
That works.
So yeah, that's how terrible that question was. It lasted less than a minute. I mean, it probably lasted about a minute.
It's probably like, it was more than a minute considering just our rambling.
So anyway, scratching that one off, we get to another god awful question that'll go nowhere. Do you prefer hit points to restore after battle or be retained throughout the duration of the dungeon?
Okay. This one, I actually thought about a little bit, and I have no evidence that I am basing my opinion on, but whatever.
That's
My
why
thought
it's an
is
opinion.
that games that restore your health after every battle, I feel like they have more of a focus on the combat itself. They're more likely to be the real-time combat or serious fights, whereas the ones that maintain your health over time, there's generally less of an emphasis on the combat itself and more of a combat on exploring the world or the narrative
Resource
story.
management.
And the combat's just kind of there to be there, break up wandering around and story and exploring, but not the main focus of the game.
Now, personally, I don't really give a shit as long as the game does whatever it does well.
No, I agree too.
And that's, I mean, if you're gonna have hit points restore after each battle, then your battles better be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just saying. If they do restore like that, those are the ones that have a focus on the combat itself.
I
and
can't
the
think of an
combat.
example that's not Final Fantasy 13.
To be honest, neither can I. That's why I said I have no evidence that I'm basing this on.
And
But
that's,
that's just the feeling I get from this.
that's such a dumb question.
And well, I mean, personally, I think I prefer the ones that actually maintain it because I just personally prefer a game with a focus on narrative and story than I do than one with a focus purely on the combat.
I mean, again, though, it comes down to the fact that there's only one example, and that one example happened to have a heavy focus on combat. In
Yeah.
theory, there's no reason that it couldn't work the other way around.
Well, I mean, maybe part of this, reason I'm thinking this is because I'm taking it out of JRPGs and into like Western RPGs as well, where your health just restores after each fight because you have 10 minutes of wandering around in between each fight. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching.
I mean, I don't see any reason. Here's the only thing I think it comes down to in a JRPG context. If your health is going to restore after each battle, enemies are going to hit like fucking tanks.
Yeah, they're gonna make the any hit do serious damage and actually matter.
And whatever, dude. I mean, that's fine. It can work. I can see
It
it
makes
working.
it makes the fight more engaging, ideally.
I mean, it should ostensibly, but like I've played like Etrian Odyssey where shit hits like a truck anyway,
Yeah.
and you don't get to restore your health after each fight. So, you know, it all depends on how the game is made, and that's what it comes down to. Like in terms of the feature,
Hmm.
it's very context sensitive,
It is.
and that's why it's not the greatest question in the world. But I guess it's obvious going back and listening to those. For whatever reason, Final Fantasy 13 was huge on our minds then.
Yeah.
Uh,
I liked that game.
I know. I believe you mentioned that in our last conversation.
Be prepared. I'll probably mention it in our next video too.
Oh boy. And moving on. So we prepared two alternative questions, and I'm gonna let you go first because at least for me, yours is so easy to answer that I didn't even have to think about it.
Oh, was all right. Mine was the what is an ideal party size and what is the ideal max roster of characters.
Yep.
So
Didn't
what's
even
your
have to think about it. Well, I've already thought about this.
all right? What do you say then?
4 is the ideal party size.
Okay.
5 is too much shit to manage. I'll um, Final Fantasy 4. I hate
Okay.
managing that much shit. Now, granted, Etrian Odyssey does have 5, and it causes the battles to get a little bit longer, but Etrian Odyssey is also a very difficult game where party composition matters. So, in
Okay.
essence, having the extra character there in that game makes sense. I just still would prefer a party of 4
Okay.
because it's much quicker when you don't have to issue orders to another character.
Okay.
But 3, I also think is too limiting because if you have most games I play, aside from the main character who's usually locked into place anyway,
Yeah.
there's one other character that I really, really like
Yeah.
and like to use in my party all the time.
Okay.
If it's a cast where you can only have 3 characters in your party at once, then that means I only have one slot that I can really play around with on
I get that.
replays.
Yeah.
So that's why I like 4. I think it
That
gives
way you
you a
can have
good,
your main, your preferred, and then the other two can kind of play around with.
yeah, and it just seems like the nicest balance between strategy and ease of use, ease of function.
Okay.
And to the reserve question, um, this one's a mixed bag because
Yeah.
ideally you have 7 because that way you can have 2 completely different parties if you include the main character, which is usually locked.
Okay.
So like if you have 7 characters, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, play the game that way, right?
Yeah.
And then 1, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
with your protagonist being locked. So
Makes
that
sense.
that way you have 2, protagonists decide completely different parties. Now, here's the problem with that. In almost every game I've experienced, from a narrative perspective,
Yeah.
6 has been the best in terms of giving every single party member a role.
Okay. And
And
then when you get more than that, they start to feel kind of samey.
well, usually they have the problem where they don't become integral to the plot, or they join the
Okay.
game too late to really feel like they do anything. Like, in the Persona games, you have 8 characters, but all of them have that Naoto or that Haru that just comes way the fuck too late in the game for you to even consider using.
Makes sense.
And if you exclude the Navigator, I think that's 7
Yeah.
playable characters, because I think it's 7 plus your Navigator, which
Yeah.
again comes back to it's the ideal number, but it's
It's
Naoto,
hard
it's
to.
Haru, they come too late in the game, or in a lot of the Tales games where they have more than 6 party members, you end up with members who don't feel as connected to the plot or just feel tacked on, like they're just plus ones. They're
Okay.
along so we can have an extra party member. They don't really do a
Do
whole lot.
anything?
Yeah. So
I get you.
7 from a gameplay perspective, 6 just in terms of everything I've seen from writing.
Okay.
So like
Ah,
7 is that ideal, 6 is realistic.
6 is the realistic. Actually seems to work before things start
Yeah,
going sideways.
yeah, start falling apart.
Okay. That makes sense. And you went into that more with more thought than I did.
It's something I've actually thought about in the past. So
Okay. My number, I'm gonna say it depends on honestly how much micromanaging and how fast it's going. 4 is the easy go-to. It generally is. But if the combat's very simple and there's not a whole lot of outside of battle micromanaging, if there's not a whole lot of items and customizing, then I can generally bump that up to 5 and have that fifth character make up for that lack of customizing and caring. But
do you have
that
something
being
in mind when you said that? Just because there aren't a lot of games that go to 5, and I'm just
no, there aren't.
curious if you had one in mind.
Honestly, not really.
Okay.
It's the exact opposite of like my next point of the really fast, almost like the action RPGs, which what actually comes to mind this time is the Final Fantasy VII remake, which has 3, but because it's so active and fast and you're managing all 3 of these characters in real time, 3 actually feels like the ideal number in that point, and I feel like 4 would be too overwhelming. So it depends on the speed of the combat, and 4 is just the super easy middle ground that always works well enough. And then you can bump it up or bump it down depending on what your speed of combat is or your complexity of combat.
Yeah, it also depends, I think, on how reliant your combat is on rolls.
Yeah,
If somebody has to be a dedicated healer, then when you have 3 slots, having
then
one decided for you like that
it's
can
kind of
feel,
rough.
yeah, really limiting. So,
Yeah. It less so. I feel like if you can customize the characters more. If you have to have a healer, but you can build the party to where multiple people can be a healer, then I feel like it works.
well, that's why I
But if
said
you
it depends on how rolls are.
well, no, because yeah, you need a healer, but if you need a healer but anyone can do it, it's fine. But if you need a healer but only one person can be a healer, then I kind of want that extra space to play with.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you have characters with defined roles and those roles
Okay.
are necessary to
It,
combat,
yeah, okay, that's
that's more what I meant.
okay. I'll agree to that.
Unless you have like a 13 situation again to go back to it where each character has multiple roles that they can fill,
But you
but
need to have a certain role of each in there.
but they
Like you,
they can't do everything. They're still defined.
yeah.
Yeah, because each one had
All right.
3 roles in 13.
I have no idea what you just said. My mic cut out for a minute there.
Each character in 13 had 3 roles.
Yes.
So, you couldn't make whatever party you wanted. You still had to think about it, but you also weren't.
You
It
weren't
was
super restricted. You didn't have to have this one particular character.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those games where you always have to have the healer
Yeah.
because
Well, you
we've all played those games.
yeah. And I mean, yes and no. You do have to have a healer, but you just have three options as healer.
I don't even remember if you needed a dedicated healer. It's been so long, but I don't think I recall always necessarily having Hope or Vanille in the party, but I could be wrong. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's because Lightning could also heal, so she was like a good enough backups heal to
Yeah.
cover for you.
But anyway, so reserves.
For reserves, I might actually have kind of a weird opinion on this. I like a really big number, but not all at the same time. And I think the example of this that I'm going to go to is Cold Steel 1. In Cold Steel 1, you have a total of like 12 playable characters, but never more than 6 at a time. So that way there's still a lot of unique characters to play with. It's not the same 5 characters for 80 hours, but it's never so many at one time that you don't get to use all of them.
I always thought Class 7 was made of 9 characters.
But there's 9 characters, and then I think then there's the teacher, and if I remember right, the other 2 add on to give you a total of 12.
Yeah, but the teacher's like ad hoc. She like only joins you for one mission.
Eh, it's more than one, but yeah, you're right. She's not there for the whole game, but she's there the last like third. But I get your point. But still, that's my thought is I like the bigger bigger core group, but not all at the same time.
Yeah.
So like you said, 6. I can even cut it down to 5 if it's a different 5 every couple hours.
Personally, that's not my bag. I'm
I get
fine
it.
with
It's a
I'm fine with the way Cold Steel did it. I mean, it served a narrative function,
mm,
so I don't have a problem with it that game. It's just personally my preference is to have my party. My
set.
Yeah, my thing is if you're gonna have a cast of characters,
Yeah,
for fuck's sake, give me the whole cast of the characters before, ideally the 25% of the way through the game, but really 33 is the hard
yeah.
cutoff, I think.
No,
Be- because I hate these
I
fucking games that do this shit where they give you a character halfway through the game where it's like I didn't get this far in the game.
without yeah.
By
No,
this
I
point in the game, I have a setup, man.
I know what you mean, and in certain cases I agree with you, but I like the change. So I'm cool with more characters and getting them later if they change more often.
Well, yeah, I mean, if your party's constantly changing, then it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying my preference.
No, in general, yeah, if you stick with the same 5 or 6 throughout the whole game, you want all 5 or 6
You want the whole
ear-
cast of
early.
6 or 7.
Yeah, you want the whole group early enough that you can know who you want to use and not have to be throwing some new guy 3/4 of the way through the game and just say, "Well, you're here, and I'm
Figure
not
this
going to
shit
use you.
out.
I'm not going to touch you because I've already established."
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else on that topic that you want to say?
Particularly, as long as they're all good, and I'm cool with a big group as long as they're all good.
Um, Although special shout
Actually,
outs.
actually, let me reword this. Not as long as they're all good, as long as I have a reason to use all of them. I'm cool with a huge cast.
Although I will give shout outs to games where, like Star Ocean, where there's more characters than you can recruit.
Yeah,
So who you recruit in one playthrough might block off somebody else. So if you want to see or use everyone, you have to play through the game twice.
yeah.
I think that can be extra incentive so long as the game is short enough.
Mm,
It works in Star Ocean 1 and 2 because they're fairly shorter, more straightforward games. As the series went on, they became like 40 and 50-hour games. Obviously, I don't
yeah.
want to fucking replay those.
No,
but that's just another way to do it that can be enjoyable.
it's similar-ish to the Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is debatable, but where a whole third of the cast is different each playthrough. So you, even though you've got 40 playable characters, it's not all at once.
Yeah, but that's also Fire Emblem, so
I like that one.
that's
Like I
fine.
said,
I just still don't. I looked up gameplay. It's an SRPG, like
the
true and true.
the combat is, but there's
That's they
I
basically
I,
the defining feature of an SRPG.
I,
That and the
I
general story structure,
eh,
and
we'll
that's
debate that
fine.
one later.
But anyway, okay. Then we'll get into my question, which is
Did you
kind of
change it, or did you find a way to word it the way you like?
I'm leaving it the same,
Okay.
which is your favorite character. Uh, so okay, originally this question was just going to be your favorite party member for whatever reason, and your least favorite party member for whatever reason. But when I started, it actually was very easy to come up with a character that I liked, my favorite. But when I started thinking about my least favorite, it got really complicated because most of the time I was thinking of characters from games that I liked that dragged down the experience,
Okay.
which contextually it seems weird because if you think of bad characters, you usually think of bad games.
Okay.
So that's not where my mind went. So I thought it would be more fair and balanced to just split it into favorite character from a game you like, favorite character from a game you dislike, favorite character or least favorite character from a game you like, and least favorite character from a game you dislike. Just that way, it's not so limited.
Okay.
And so I'll start with favorite character from a game you like, and this one shouldn't come as any surprise. It's Yosuke Hanamura from Persona 4.
That's fair.
I really like bro characters. I like Yosuke. I like Toval in Cold Steel 2. He's like my favorite character in that game
Yeah.
because he's just a bro. Just the character that will always have your back. And,
Okay.
in Persona 3, Junpei basically hates your guts. He has little pee-pee syndrome and spends
Juniper
most.
does?
Yes, he
Okay.
spends most of the game basically hating you for being better than him. That's like his arc. And then even when you you learn about Nyx, he blames you. He resends it pretty quickly, but yeah, Junpei hates your guts.
I liked Junpei, actually.
You like somebody who hates your guts.
Apparently, well, I didn't get that feeling from him most of the time.
That's because most of the time he's trying to pretend like nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Then when something happens, he snaps and blames you, or
Yeah, I
gets
know
mad at you.
I, I've seen him do that once or twice, but for the most part, I didn't get the feeling that he hated you. I felt the a little jealous and that you're better than him, a bit of a. It felt more like a rival than a I hate you kind of feeling.
There
At least
was
that's
definitely more animosity there.
okay.
I mean, for fuck's sake, even Operation Babe Hunt was like, you're just here, man. Like, he obviously never expected you to do anything or get anywhere. But anyway, this is about Yosuke.
This is about Yosuke and how much you like him.
And the difference between Yosuke and Junpei, or not Junpei, Ryuji,
Yeah.
is Yosuke is the idiot that you laugh with.
Okay.
Yosuke is that endearing kind of stupid, where he's not brash, he just doesn't quite think everything all the way through. Which leads to great scenes like waving swords around in the food court of your local Walmart. And, like, everything he says about the TV world, it's almost right, but it's also
Yeah,
not quite right. And it's just perfect. He's the perfect kid that acts that age. He always has your back as a main character, but he's never outright dumb. He's comedic relief, and like it's fun to be
but
like,
he's
"Oh
not.
God, Yosuke, you're an idiot," but he never
Okay.
crosses that line into just what the fuck are you doing? He's never screaming, "We're the Phantom Thieves" in public.
Yeah, I
And
get you.
so, aside from his character, which is the ultimate bro, who can make you laugh
Yes.
and got you back and gets and hooks you up with swords from the hall closet. He's also great in battle. I know it's kind of like for whatever reason, because I couldn't decide between narrative or battle. I think we can have two different conversations on that.
Yeah.
Uh, but in battle, he's also a really stellar character.
Okay.
He fulfills the role that usually is filled by most protagonists,
Yeah.
where he's a jack of all trades, but he's 70% in everything.
Okay.
He has pretty high strength. He has actually higher strength than Chie by the end of the game. He has high agility. Bizarrely, Chie ends up outclassing him by 1 point,
Okay.
but otherwise he has high agility. He has high magic. I think he actually has slightly higher magic than Teddy, who is
Okay.
the backup mage. I could be wrong. Teddy has 76. Yosuke has 70. So okay, not as high as Teddy, but still pretty damn high.
But still pretty high.
He gets the amp and the boost. He gets the boost and
Yeah.
the amp skills, which put his magic on tier. He
Yeah.
gets severe physical damage skills, so he can cover that base too.
Hmm.
And in Golden, he also gets some healing spells, which also make him a competent healer. He's got the
Okay.
Sakukaja buffs. So, I mean, he's just a great character all around in battle.
Okay.
He's so versatile in every way that it's hard to point to any singular weakness.
Okay.
You might not do as much damage as Kanji, but Kanji has absolutely fuck all for magic.
Yeah, he's just hitting stuff.
Yukiko's the same. She's your mage, but if you have something that's resistant to fire, then she's healing duty, and
Useless.
that's it.
Yeah.
So, Yosuke he's got your back in battle, too.
Okay.
Covers all your bases, man. He is just great character both on the battlefield and outside of it.
All right.
Your
I
turn.
cannot. I cannot disagree. All right. Well, I wasn't counting for all four, so I haven't planned for all four. And this is one of them.
I was gonna say
But
that's okay. I don't have one.
all right. Well, I don't have three, so we're just kind of winging it for most of mine. But I'm gonna go with Glenn or Frog from Chrono Trigger. I love his backstory as a tragic knight who's still trying to do the right thing. I don't know, something about the idea of working hard, trying to do the right thing. The world kind of just shits on you and curses you, and he still tries to keep going. I don't know. There's something about that that I like
Well,
that makes him feel noble or respectable.
that's it. He is noble. He's the classic underdog
Yeah,
character. Even as a human, he was outclassed by his friend Cyrus. I've
yeah.
never actually seen the kanji or kana for that, so I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Hmm.
But
But he kept going anyways.
yeah, when Cyrus died, he attempted to avenge him. He got turned into a frog, and he continues to try and be noble,
Yeah,
and even when everyone spits on him. No, yeah, Frog's a
and
great character.
and I love Frog. I love his fucking music. And I know we talked about how he's not the best in combat in that game, but I feel like he is versatile and very usable. Where he has heals that are decent, but not a great. He has some physical attacks. He has some magic attacks. He has a bit of everything, and he works again, jack of all trades sort of deal. Just not quite as great as some of the others.
Well, and I mean, someday I'd like to do one of the later questions will be inevitably characters that you like as characters but just can't use in battle. And
Yeah.
that's Frog. He's the jack of all trades, but not good enough at anything, any singular thing that he's outclassed by pretty much everyone at everything.
See, and
If you want a mage, Luca out damages him 12,
you've
very
you've got a
easily.
better mage.
If
You've
you
got a
want,
better straight damage dealer.
yeah,
Yeah.
better damage dealer, Isla, like it's not even in the same stratosphere. Isla can
No.
just annihilate things. And heals, honestly, aren't really a huge deal in Chrono
Deal in that
Trigger
game.
at all. I think you can go the whole game using items and never have an issue.
You can.
Honestly, if I wasn't so married to Marl for haste,
Yeah.
I'd try a party of
All damage dealers.
Chrono, Luca, and Isla.
Yeah.
That has some serious potential.
But even then, I still like to use Frog because he always fills in whatever hole that I'm missing. If I'm damage heavy, I've got him as a backup for heals. If I'm defensive or whatever, which doesn't really apply in that game, he's got a backup for damage. He's a backup. No matter what your problem is, he's a backup that can help.
And that's fine. I
So
mean,
he
Chrono Trigger is one of those games where the game is easy enough that you can use whoever the hell you want. It's just
yeah,
ultimately at the end of the day, he is probably the worst character in the game next to Magus, which is hilarious because Frog, Magus, and then the main character Chrono is the party I used to love running the most as a kid.
yeah.
And
That's just his
it's just objectively the worst party.
yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
Robo is a better jack of all trades.
Uh, I like Frog more, but that might just be because I like Frog more.
No, dude, you have no idea how much it hurts me to say that. I don't care for Robo. But just thinking about it, remember when we did the playthrough, Robo actually hit pretty hard.
Yeah, oh,
He
he was
does
good too.
he does magic damage and he has heals.
Yeah,
So, just saying.
I don't know.
But
Either way,
in
my,
terms of
my point is
characters,
I
yeah,
like Glenn.
yeah, he's great. So, moving on to good game, bad characters.
All right.
My mind went. I had a lot of trouble with this, but my mind went straight to that sometimes your first thought is the right one.
Yeah.
My mind went straight to the Tales games and the kid characters. I keep saying characters. I need to specify party members because when it's characters, it gets too open.
Yeah, but I
Because
know what you mean.
because in Tales that would be like fucking Tipo, the fucking mascot characters. God, fuck them.
Yeah.
But in terms of party members, it's the kids,
Yeah.
and specifically three: um,
Okay.
Annis, Carol, and Laphicet or Lifacet. I have no fucking clue.
Let's see. I remember Carol. I don't like Carol. I don't remember the other two.
Laphicet was in Berseria.
What did he look like? Did I play Berseria?
Short, blonde. He was the kid with the white robe, like choir
Oh,
boy
okay.
robe, and the collar,
I'm,
and the blonde hair.
yeah, I'm vaguely remembering who you're talking about.
Yeah, and then Annis from Abyss. And here's the thing: Carol and Laphicet, I actually kind of like.
Yeah.
Annis, I just don't like. All three can be fixed though with the same thing. I'm just going to single out Annis because of all of them, I think she's the least or the biggest problem of this.
Okay.
Because basically all of these characters, if they were aged by 5 to 10 years, would be fine.
Hmm.
It would be infinitely better. Because Carol isn't really a bad character. He actually has a pretty solid arc, all things considered. He goes from a little baby little crybaby to able to stand on his own.
Yeah.
He's just a little too damn young. Like he's like, I don't know, 12 or something. He looks 12.
Do you
And
just not like the fact that they're kids, or do you just not like the fact that they act like kids?
I think it undercuts the severity of any situation you're trying to convey when you put a small child in the battle party.
Okay.
It's like, oh, it's the end of the world and we're going to fight the ultimate evil. Let's take along the 12-year-old.
Okay.
What? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And like again, Annis is the worst because she's supposed to be like a general in like the church's military at the age
Oh,
of
okay.
like 8.
That's weird.
I mean, it's just anime bullshit at its finest. But she's also like a gold digger. Like she's constantly flirting with Luke to marry him because her family is very poor and she wants to like secure uh, income through marriage.
Okay.
Which like
And she does
that's
and
like
she
the
does all this
joke.
at 8?
Yeah, and it's like that's the joke. It's played for humor, but it's a very one note joke that
Hmm.
gets repeated throughout the whole game.
Let me ask you this about Annis then.
Hmm.
If it was the exact same character making the exact same statements,
Hmm.
but they were just physically and designed older, but everything else was the same, would it be better?
Yes.
Like the exact same words, the exact same speech, everything,
Yeah.
but just a bigger body, it would work?
And also a less obnoxious voice.
Okay. But that would make it better, even though they're the same person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean that's ultimately the problem with the kids in Tales games is that they stretch your suspension of belief or disbelief.
Okay.
You know, you're trying to talk about the end of the world. You're talking about what does it mean to be alive, and
Okay.
you know what makes a person an individual. And then you've got a fucking 8-year-old general with a doll that she rides,
Oh, okay.
and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be super serious business all the time.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. Like I like Rita a lot. Like Rita's a perfectly good example. She's just a little bit older. Like she's like
Okay.
15.
Okay.
Like you played Vesperia. She's like 15.
Yeah.
But I have no issues with her. I like Rita. Rita's one of my favorite characters in that game.
Just because she's not 8?
And she doesn't act like it. And she doesn't have that high pitched squeaky voice.
Okay.
You know, it's like, okay, she lives on her own and she's like smarter than everyone else, but at least she's 15 and not 10.
Okay.
Like those extra years matter when it comes to suspension of disbelief.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's what I went with.
All right. That actually makes sense. All right. For this was characters you don't like in good games?
Yep.
All right. Mine, I know you're going to disagree with me, but I'm actually going with Yosuke from Persona 5. I don't like him. He's annoying
You mean
and his
Yusuke?
Yusuke. Yeah, Yusuke. Whatever. See,
Well,
I
well,
don't
okay.
even
I was when you were like Yosuke, I was like, what are you gonna say, Yosuke? And then you said Yosuke, and I was like, really?
Yusuke, whichever one it is. He's a
That
fuckhead. His
okay?
name is even just a copy of some other guy who's better.
Well, I'm just saying, Yosuke, best character ever. Yusuke, eh. But but that matters.
I
Anyway, go
I,
ahead.
I hate him. I hate him. He's annoying, and his entire personality is just weird about art, and that's all he has going for him. I don't use him in combat. I don't know what the hell his role is in combat or what he's good for.
He's
His
basically Chie,
personality
man.
is, well, yeah, but Chie it
No,
works
I'm
because
talking about his role in combat.
no, and that so am I, believe it or not. Outside of combat, Chie, her personality is still punching and kicking and fighting stuff. Yusuke is just weird about art, and in combat, for him to be a physical guy is weird.
I don't really
I could
think there's anything you could do with him in combat that wouldn't be weird.
I could see him doing like magic shit or some weird art related bullshit if we want to keep the weird about art thing going on. But outside of combat, he's so not physical that to make him be the fighter in combat feels weird. It's like a
Well, he's not
incon.
the fighter. He's the okay
Well, that's what
Persona
Chie was.
in Persona 4. Kanji is the primary fighter, and Chie is a backup fighter in the same way that so Yukiko's the primary mage,
Yeah,
And then Teddy is a backup mage. His magic isn't as strong, but he has more support moves and has
yeah,
more physical damage.
yeah.
So
He's the backup mage.
it
Like Chie is kind of like the backup fighter.
it's the same with yeah. Chie
And
doesn't have as much physical damage as Kanji does, but she still
yeah,
has more magic and I don't even know if she has any fucking support moves.
but
I used her
yeah, and
once and I regret it.
I like Chie, but that's beside the point. But Yusuke, it doesn't fit him. Even being a backup fight, make him a backup mage, and somehow in combat he feels better. I still don't like him outside of combat because he has no personality outside of weird about art, but I just don't like him.
That's fine.
I don't, I don't have a thing against artists or anything. I just don't like him because that's all he is, and it gets old quickly.
That's
But
fine.
I don't know. I don't like him.
He cracked me up a few times, but he's not my favorite member of the cast.
Yeah,
The
but that's my
crucifixion
one.
thing in his social link. I don't know if you did his social link.
I did, and I mean,
The
it
crucifixion
was
part was fucking riot.
it was the best point in his arc, but it was still didn't make up for everything else.
I mean, that's how you feel, man. He's not my
I don't,
favorite character either, so it's not like I'm
eh,
ready to defend Yusuke.
I don't like him.
I think he's
Anyways,
one of the weaker members of the cast. So, moving on. Characters you like in a game that you don't like.
okay.
This is my question mark. Because here's the thing. Believe it or not, I don't carry around in my head
List of games you don't like?
things I hate.
Yeah, neither
In
do I. I had trouble with these.
in fact, usually when there's things I don't like, I forget them very, very quickly.
Yep.
And like so I was just like I know they have to exist, man. Like there's
But you can't think of what they are.
I even listed like four games that I just objectively just don't really like.
Hmm.
And I couldn't think of a single character in any of them. Not one fucking character that was like, I like that character. There's
Okay.
one character that sort of comes close,
Yeah. Who's
but
that?
it also betrays my next answer,
Yeah.
which I mean, maybe I'll come back to it after I answer the next one.
Okay.
So did you come up with anyone?
Um, I did right now just because I Googled it while you were kind of ranting, but in general, no, I didn't have one. I liked the clown chick from Star Ocean 5. I don't remember anything else about her, but I remember I liked the clown chick from Star Ocean 5.
What clown?
There was a lady in Star Ocean 5 who was a clown and she had green hair. I Googled a picture to make sure I
Oh,
wasn't crazy and remember.
she wasn't a clown.
She's looks like a clown. Now, she might not be a clown, but she looks like a clown, and I thought of her as a clown.
I
Either
think
way,
if she's the one you're talking about, I think of her as a whore. But
was a
doesn't
what?
as a whore.
Yeah, she kind of looked like a mix between a clown and a whore.
Yeah, doesn't she have like bat wings and a tail?
I don't see bat wings and a tail on her character, but doesn't
Maybe
mean they're
I'm
not.
misremembering. I don't
No,
remember.
they're there.
But yeah,
It's
Star Ocean 5 is on my list of four games.
But yeah, as I was trying to remember games that I didn't like, that one popped into my head, and then remembering that character, who's the only character in that entire cast who I even remotely remembered,
I
I
remember
was like,
Shovel Face.
is that the main character?
No, that's his girlfriend,
She,
whose
the
face looks like a shovel.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
look at her
I could,
face.
yeah, I can see it.
It's a shovel. Yeah, Star Ocean 5 was not a good time. I actually never finished it.
I did. I don't remember anything. I don't. To be honest, I don't even remember not liking it. I just,
You didn't dislike it at the time.
yeah, it was just there. It was the most there game I think I've ever played.
And
And anyways, that's my character who I remember from a game I didn't like.
so, character you dislike from a game that you dislike.
Okay.
My answer is the entire cast of Xenoblade 2.
Yeah.
Fucking everybody. Rex, because he starts the game with a job,
Yeah.
he can support himself, and he sends money back to the village that he lived in.
So he's a
So
good guy.
he starts the game as an adult, respectable member of society,
Yeah.
and ends the game as a whiny piece of shit failure who more or less fucked up every step of the way. He has a backwards character arc. He ends the game in a worse place than he started it.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's astonishing how, and he's shonen boy, but he's just dumb shonen boy.
Okay.
Nia is the character that I almost want to put in the light column
Yeah, I kind of
because
like Nia.
she gets shit on in that game so hard,
Yeah, she does.
and I feel bad for her. But at the same time, if Nia, because she was a former member, or for a long part of the game, she was a member of the underground terrorist organization whose name I can't remember because, like I said, I
Yeah.
don't dedicate a lot of brain space to games I don't like.
Hmm.
She had the knowledge of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And then Homura had the knowledge of the past and the context for everything,
Okay.
which means had those two sat down with Rex and
For like
everybody
five
just
minutes.
spent, yeah, like one afternoon sharing knowledge,
Yeah.
literally half the game would not have happened. Because most of the game is Rex fucks something up because he doesn't know any better. Meanwhile, people in the party who know better just sit there and watch.
And watch it happen, and then bitch at him for fucking up.
Yeah, it's like it's the most what the fuck am I watching game? And I mean that's why like I almost want to put Nia on the like because she fucks up, but at the same time she contributes to what makes this game so frustrating.
Okay.
Eh. Then you
Alright.
have the weeaboo fucking furball.
I liked him.
I
He
didn't.
was like he was like a stupid trope, but his character was a stupid trope, so I kinda liked it.
And he wasn't the worst, but he wasn't like great either.
Yeah.
The one that annoyed me the most was then you get into the other characters.
Yeah.
Morag, whose name I only know because I watched an unrelated video recently,
Okay.
also known as I Guess You Exist. Oh. It's another
Bragg was
instance of it takes you way the fuck too long to recruit the last two characters in the game.
yeah, that game was bad about that. Morag not as much as the other one, but yeah.
Yeah, Morag just, I don't even fucking remember what Morag did other than be there.
She was there. She was yeah, she was there.
That
Honestly, I don't think a whole lot of the characters did anything in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, like again, it goes back to what I was talking about with usually when you have seven characters, you can't find a role for all of them in the story. This
Yeah.
game had five, and I don't remember what the fuck Morag did.
She did very little, I think.
And then you had Zeke as the last character, who is the comic relief, who would be easily the worst person in the cast,
Hmm?
except that I remember one or two actually cool moments with Zeke.
He was cool when he wasn't retarded.
And that's the thing, like,
Wasn't often, but when he wasn't retarded, he was kind of nice.
and that doesn't redeem the character because 80% of the time he's a shit and I hate him.
Yeah.
But he did have that 20%. Meanwhile, Morag has nothing. You didn't annoy me as much, but you also didn't do
Do anything
anything.
good.
And,
Yeah.
that's why I mean it was between the entire cast of Xenoblade 2 and the entire cast of Eternal Sonata. And the thing that made the difference for me is that Xenoblade 2 is a game that I really want to like because I think
Okay.
it's a game that does a lot of things well,
Yeah.
but story and characters is not one of them.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it really doesn't feel like it should be so hard. I mean, again, spoilers for Xenoblade 2. skip to fucking 5 minutes from now, just to be safe.
Okay.
That ending scene where Rex is being tested and he's being
Hmm.
shown the visions of all the party members, but they like hate him.
Okay.
Like this is the scene where you show that your protagonist has grown up, and he looks at his friends who are swearing at them, and he says, you're not really my friends. My friends would never say that. Or if you want to be a little bit more mature about it, okay, maybe you feel that way with part of you, but this isn't all you are.
Yeah.
There's those good times too. But
Hmm.
instead, at the end of the game, Rex literally runs away crying from one of them, and
Uh,
he kills at least one of them. In like, I don't remember if it was a tantrum or just like a mental breakdown. Like
okay.
this is the test of your character, the thing that's supposed to show how much they've grown,
And he just totally fails it.
and he fucks everything about it up, like everything.
Yeah.
And then somehow the game story is just like, yep, you've proven yourself worthy. What?
Yeah.
So like, it's not hard. Like the pieces are there, they just somehow fuck up the execution.
Okay. Yeah.
It's, I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck that happened to that game. Everybody's praising, Xenoblade 1 Definitive came out, and I was gonna get it, but I just keep hesitating because I keep getting flashbacks to 2, and the whole rest of the
That's
world seems to think it's some sort of, like, masterpiece, and I don't
yeah.
fucking get it, man.
That's fair.
So did you have one for this?
I didn't. I'm trying really hard to think of one. The closest I could think of, which doesn't really apply, but it's the only one I can remember, is Ayesha from Atelier Ayesha. Just because I don't know, I remembered nothing about her other than she exists because she's the main character. That's all that I can remember about her. And I didn't. She wasn't. She was the main character, and she wasn't interesting enough for me to keep playing a game that I wanted to like.
And I think that's the thing, you just said it with this particular category, is it's things you want to like that end up
I
being the ones that burn you the worst.
I did. I pre-ordered that game. I was excited for that game because I loved the other series. She was the main character, and she was so just there that I quit playing the game because I couldn't care about the characters. Couldn't care about the main character on this journey to save whatever it was that she was trying to save.
The funny thing is then you tapped out of the whole Dust series, which went to the two Atelier games that I actually like,
Yeah,
Eska and Logi and Shali.
yeah.
I actually really like both of those games.
I've heard they're good.
I think they're very good games. Um, yeah, I think that's about it for this week. Next week, I think it'll be the last time we're doing retrospective questions,
Think
and
so.
I think they're better questions than this.
Okay.
So, before we close it out, anything, what do you, anything you've been doing in this week in Jerpagas that's worth talking about?
Well, as I've been scrolling around looking at bad games, trying to think of one, I actually remembered some characters that I liked from a game that I wanted to like but couldn't, that I feel like are honorable mention type category.
Go for
But
it.
I'm trying real hard to remember the name of this fucking game because the pictures just came up of
I'm
the
honest.
character.
I'm honestly stunned. Oh,
Resonance of Fate.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Res- it felt interesting and I liked the characters and I couldn't get into it, but that might have been because I sucked. But I liked them for some weird reason.
Um,
So
yeah, no, that's actually a pretty. I've seen that game get thrown around a bit
I
in
liked it.
terms of like hidden, not
I tried it
classics,
like
but
3 times and I sucked at it and I couldn't get into it every single time, but I liked it to the point where it was fun to be bad until it was not fun to be bad anymore.
Yeah, for
So I'm gonna.
characters. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just saying, I'm gonna put them as characters I like in a game that I don't.
I'm surprised you didn't put Teddy for a character in a game because I thought you hated Teddy.
I did at first. I came around to Teddy, and I just hate Yusuke, whatever, so fucking much that he just immediately fucking trumped him. But I came around to Teddy later on.
See, I like Teddy when he's a bear. I don't like human Teddy.
I agree. I
So
completely agree.
bear Teddy, great. Human Teddy, not so much. Morgana, great character. Love Morgana.
Morgana's great.
Morgana makes up for Yusuke.
Morgana does help make up for Yusuke. I still hate him,
I,
but
you can hate him all
Morgana's
you
great.
want. I'm just saying.
But yeah, Morgana's great.
So yeah, anything in the Jerpalgo sphere that you've done this week that's worth talking about? It's not Fire
No,
Emblem because
no. Fire
no,
Emblem's pretty much all I played all week.
I've been playing through Royal. I've
Is it any
started
good?
it. I'm at the start of Yusuke.
Fuck, I hate
Moder,
that piece of
moder.
shit.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree that Yusuke is not as developed as he should be.
Okay.
I just don't hate him as much as everybody else. His as when I talk about Yosuke being a character that can really cross the line
Yeah.
into like aggravating stupid, but he never quite does.
Yeah.
Yusuke is a character to me that constantly crosses the line with his eccentricities. Sometimes he cracks me up. Sometimes I just look at him and I'm just like, what the fuck, dude?
Let's see, and for me, I'm on the what the fuck dude side. It's just a little too
Yeah, and I'm just
often.
saying, like, I'm not as much there, but I
Mhm.
feel you. But no,
All right.
Royal is an interesting experience. I
Okay.
as expected, the combat balance is fucked because
Yeah,
reloading guns between each battle is insanely broken in
I would
terms of
imagine that would make the guns crazy overpowered.
there's also a way to um, there are accessories you can get that you can equip them and they let you use abilities regardless of what your persona has.
Huh.
So like in the first dungeon of the game you can get an accessory that gives you diorama,
Damn.
which realistically you don't have a lot of mana so it's not super broken, but that's still way
That level,
earlier than you should
like,
have that.
yeah, that level of heals that early on is
So you can argue that it's balanced out by the fact that they don't give you stats, whereas other accessories do. Personally,
okay.
though, I'm, for the sake of having any kind of balance, opting not to use them.
I get that.
Likewise, there's a new character in Mementos now who can, you essentially collect stamps as you go through Mementos. There's a
Okay.
set number per chunk, and then you can take
Okay.
back the stamps to him, and he gives you bonuses, which there are three: improved experience, improved money, and improved item drop. And
Okay.
the way it works is you can choose which stamps to give to which bonus, and the more stamps you put in a bonus, the higher it gets.
Makes sense.
And
So then you can just kind of build what resources or rewards you get.
but if you go all into experience, you can get experience gain up to double.
Damn.
I mean, not right away, but it's still going to be the type of thing that you can very easily break the game by being over leveled.
I
So
could see that.
it's another
Okay.
thing where I'll put it into money because money is not a problem
Not.
anyway.
It's not going to break the game.
I mean, by the time it gets to a high enough percentage that'll be game breaking, money won't be a problem anyway,
Makes
because
sense.
money is only really a problem in the early game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's another thing that I'm just going to be ignoring for the sake of preserving what little challenge there is.
Okay.
Now, on the flip side, things that Royal does well, they, but the single biggest thing to me, they finally fixed the indicators above people's heads
Yeah.
that show whether or not you've talked to somebody.
Oh, okay.
I have not seen anybody else bring this up in any review of the game, but for me, this is the biggest thing the game does because I love those.
Yeah.
Because they were broken in Persona 5 because they reset almost every day in the base game.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you talk to somebody, the little like ellipses over their head,
The
it
emblem changes to
it
tell you that you've talked to them.
it dimmed,
Okay.
but it would always reset the next day. Now it's fixed so that now you can run through the town and only talk to people who have new things to say.
That's kind of nice.
So, I don't know if you get bonus points for fixing something that was broken in the original when it was just broken.
Yeah.
The added character portraits are way more
Good.
engrossing than I was expecting.
Okay.
I They really make conversations more engaging
Really?
just by having more dynamic portraits that better reflect the character's emotions.
Okay.
So that's surprisingly better than I was expecting.
Hmm.
There are a few more instances of seeing characters earlier in the game.
Just to kind of like see them and know that they're there before they become relevant.
Yeah, so props for that.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think off the top of my head of anything. Oh, now when you go into a dungeon,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want in LeBlanc at night. You can't go outside, but you can study, watch movies, uh, make tools and shit like that.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Again, I see that being making the game just easier,
Yeah,
but it's kind of nice.
it is. Again, it's a game that's already easy in terms of time scale, especially when you get the one confident up that lets you go out at night anyway.
Hmm.
But whatever. Stacking is easier, but it's also just nice convenience. It would have been the problem with Golden and with Royal is not that the changes themselves are inherently bad. It's that they don't
Yeah.
go back and rebalance the game around these changes. I
That actually
actually
sounds fair.
I actually don't mind having guns reload all the time because it makes them feel,
Useful.
before only use them for knockdown.
Yeah.
I didn't
Me too.
mind. I liked them in the sense that they felt like a tool more so than just an alternative attack.
But
And
they were only for knockdowns, and that was it.
yeah, and that's what's sort of complicated in Royal is now they have more versatility, but they just feel like an alternative form of attack.
Yeah.
I like having an alternative. The more options you have,
Hmm.
I think the more interesting combat is.
Yeah.
That's why playing Royal, I can say, going back to last week where I was saying I couldn't decide between 4 and 5, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
I still won't put one over the other because I don't think you have to. Yeah, I don't think being number one is such a like who cares?
Yeah.
They're both my
Okay.
favorite. But if I was on an island and could only have one, I would
Yeah.
go with 5 just because it has more versatility to its gameplay.
Okay.
I mean, it has your guns and it has 4 more since Light and Dark were expanded elements
Yeah.
compared to 4, which is pretty basic because it only has physical, the 4 elements, and then Hama and Mudo.
Yeah. It had less. Even three had more attack types than four did.
Yeah, although I really am not a fan of three's multiple,
Multiple physicals.
just because they didn't make a whole shitload of sense. Like a piercing weapon and a bashing weapon, when all you want to do is look at a skill and know what the fuck it does. Like what is a lance? Is it
A lance
piercing?
is
Is it
yeah.
slashing?
A lance is piercing.
A sword could be either.
Yeah.
If you're using a rapier, that's a thrusting weapon,
Yeah, it is.
and
But
that's
it's the game just calls it a sword and makes it slash.
but you're holding a rapier, and I mean Mitsuru's entire thing is fencing.
Yeah.
But that's my point. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense. It wasn't
Yeah.
as immediately visually apparent what the thing did. Therefore, simplifying it better benefited the gameplay. And I think that if you're going to diversify it again, do it like they did in 5, where guns are fundamentally a different type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Until Royal, at least, where they just felt like a different attack again.
yeah. I mean, you still have limited ammo in the sense that you can't use them exclusively, but they still just don't feel as well thought out.
Makes sense.
And that's Royal. I mean, once again, you have a game that is less balanced, or at least doesn't feel as well thought out as the original, but still has a lot of tweaks that, for the sake of convenience, are very nice. I
Makes
don't.
sense.
I'm still really hesitant. The single biggest thing that worries me about Royal is how it's going to handle the end game, because for most of them, the extra semester in
Feels
Golden,
tacked on.
well, in Golden, the extra semester came in January, but the actual end game, the final dungeon, was in March.
Yeah.
So you could just shove that in there. It didn't really, like, you still had the grand finale.
Mm.
But in 5, I mean, Satan shoots God in the head to save Christmas. And then it goes on to January.
Yeah, what else could you add after that?
Well, how does that not detract from what is the most grand fucking finale in a
Yeah,
Persona game? Like, that was where it should end.
yeah, it was an ending. And how can you add something else on after that and not feel,
Yeah, and not end up with the fucking extra episode of Tokyo Xanadu, except worse.
yeah,
And that's kind of what
yeah,
I'm fearful
afraid
and
of?
yeah, anticipating. But I
Makes
mean,
sense.
it's Persona 5. I'm having a great time because it's Persona 5,
Yeah,
and
that,
it's
that's all
got
that matters.
yeah, it's got a little lot, a few little tweaks that I like, a few little tweaks that I don't like, but it's too early to say if you should play Royal over the original. I think
Mhm.
it's almost definitely going to end up like a Persona 4 situation where if you really want the best experience from a narrative perspective,
Yeah,
the vanilla game is best, but the quality of life changes, in particular with 4, the ability to select fusion abilities,
yeah.
makes Golden the only version I can ever play.
Yeah.
So that's
All
it
right.
for this week. Next week, depending on the quality of the questions, but I think they're
Better.
better
Okay.
because we spent 40 minutes on just to give a comparison. We spent 40 minutes on our first one, 20 minutes on our second one, and then 40 minutes on our third one.
When
So
was? Okay.
on 8 years ago.
Oh, okay, okay.
So after that, we'll get into original questions. We'll do 2 a week again, I think, and then
Okay.
I think end on what we're doing this week because we really want the focus to be the questions. But
Yeah.
sometimes, like tonight, we just end a little bit early.
End and ramble.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just played something this week that you're like, shit, I got to talk about that.
If
Probably
I ever
not.
get that excited. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't get that excited about anything.
I don't.
It's all those
Part of my
downers you're
charm.
taking.
It's part of my charm.
Yeah, sure, whatever. So
Anyways.
see you next week. No, I won't.
Later.
Nobody's watching this.
Hey, you're watching this. I don't watch this, but you do.
No, I don't.
Oh.
Stupid.